and I don't overuse my time, so I'll read from my script. So my title actually is The Great Translation Movement and Its Impact on the Two Worlds on the Internet. The Great Translation Movement started early this year on Reddit first, then quickly moved to Twitter after Reddit suspended one of its main accounts. What this movement does is to mainly translate online comments and statements in China into other languages to let people outside China learn the true mindsets of the brainwashed so-called little pigs. The movement started right after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, while the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, tried to pretend to be neutral about this war. The online comments and statements were predominantly pro-Russia, anti-Ukraine, anti-America, anti-Japan, and anti-West. So a group of volunteers started to translate these comments into other languages and spread the translations on social media. Since the movement opened its official Twitter account in March this year, so far it has posted over 1,000 tweets and gained over 106,000 followers. Because of its constant effort, its impact was immediately evident. While people in the world were greatly shocked by the extreme comments and statements that were full of hatred and totally anti-human, the CCP became extremely embarrassed by the exposure of these comments. So it did two things. One was to attack the movement as anti-China, scandalous, shameless, etc. And another was to censor online comments so that to limit the extreme statements to avoid further embarrassment. Through the movement, people in the world learn more clearly the CCP's true stance on the Russia-Ukraine war and to what extent the CCP's brainwashing can be. Many mainstream media outlets reported about its impact. What do I mean by the two worlds on the internet in the title? When internet first came into being, people believed that internet means everything was connected and there would be no barrier on the internet whatsoever. But the reality is the CCP has successfully built a great firewall with the assistance of Cisco of American technology, so that the internet is split into two worlds, one inside the Great Firewall and one outside. People inside the Great Firewall can't access the free information outside the wall. That's one kind of barrier that people have realized. But there is another kind of barrier that people have not realized. Although people from outside the Great Firewall can access the internet inside the wall because of the language barrier, they don't understand what is really happening inside the wall. Therefore, the internet inside the wall became a somewhat independent, isolated place where both the CCP and the brainwashed little pigs feel that they are free to say anything. So they shamelessly make all kinds of the most shocking and very tasteless statements. For example, in December 2020, I translated an 18-minute video of top-level CCP Professor Di Dongsheng's speech, in which he boasted how the CCP had people at the top of America's core inner circle. He also openly boasted about how the CCP could fix certain American politicians by fixing Wall Street, and how the CCP pressured a bookstore owner in Washington, D.C. through one old American friend of China, etc. The translated video was quoted by Tucker Carlson and then retweeted by former President Trump. People said the video was explosive and were shocked. by the fact that he actually made that kind of speech in front of thousands of people. How dare he? Well, how dare he? Because he thought he was speaking in Chinese and to Chinese audience only. They were one big family and they of course share family secrets. If he had known that he would have an English audience as well, he wouldn't have talked like that. So the Great Firewall gives the CCP closed environment where fake news, disinformation, misinformation, hate speech, propaganda can run rampant. This poisonous environment has produced and will produce a large number of brainwashed little pigs as well as war-wolf diplomats to go against the universal values of the civilized world and who are easily controlled and manipulated by the CCP to do damage to the world. The Great Translation movement has made a huge crack in the war and enabled the world to have a glimpse of what is really happening inside the war and what that means to the world. While the Chinese people inside the war need to seek truths outside the war, and the people outside the war also need to know the true mindset and situation inside the war. It will never do if we only so-called engage China economically without caring about the CCP's values or on what kind of basis the CCP makes these decisions, especially decisions that will affect the world. So that's the significance of the Great Translation movement. Its decentralized operation model also offers enlightenment so as to how to effectively deal with the CCP's centralized crush. But this is not enough. We need more decision makers, politicians, and people from business communities, technical communities, and other communities to tear down the CCP's Great Firewall altogether, to enable and empower the Chinese people so that they can gain freedom and become part of the civilized world.
Jennifer, just one small thing. What is the biggest reaction you have seen, response from the American public you have seen regarding the big translation movement?
I think most of them very appreciate what is happening because they do need to understand what is happening inside China, because more and more Americans are realizing how important we know what's happening inside China now, because we've given the CCP so much power for them to damage the entire world. From the pandemic, we all knew how great the damage could be. So now more and more people are realizing it's important. So that's why this movement gets so much attention. And like also myself, they both express how much they appreciate all my efforts to let them know what's really happening in China.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for